I thank all the honorable members who have spoken, but who have not spoken, but also supporting, for this idea of why railways must run efficiently, why railways must be supported, and why the dividends should not be paid. That's an argument everybody is making, and not now. This has been an argument made by almost all the members of parliament from time to time supporting this. Because railway is a nationally important asset, a strategic asset for the country. And railways running means we are actually running economy, helping common people to travel by that mode of transportation, helping everybody, all sections of society. So this is important. Now, sir, I fully agree and thank Mr. Derek also, as well as my others who have supported this. Sir, the railways, and why, good friend, you wanted to know what the profits or not. Sir, railways is bearing a completely unbearable burden, particularly this year. Almost 36,000 to 40,000 crore, depending upon how much will be the burden of allowances, will be the burden coming out of pay commission. Sir, this house, we passed a very progressive law, increasing the minimum, actually increasing the ceiling of minimum bonus payable. The biggest burden has to be borne by the railways because railway is the largest employer in the country. So the burden comes on the railways. Thirdly, so railway is already carrying a burden of excess, almost 34,000 crores of subsidies. We give public service obligations, 34,000 crores. Plus, as he pointed out, my good friend from Bengal, he pointed out that we are also giving concessions to all kinds of people. In fact, I would be the first railway minister requesting everybody don't take concession because already there is so much of concession inbuilt into the railway ticket itself that no more concessions are required. But still, this is the legacy. So all this put together, railway is carrying a huge burden. And then why do we need money? So first, we need surpluses so that we can put this money into new lines, we can modernize, we can actually use high technology, as you was mentioning, even in China. He's absolutely right that all these high-speed railway projects are publicly funded to support a strategic vision for the country. Exactly. Then there are losses the railways are suffering of running those lines which are not profitable, but they were put up because they were necessary, strategic reasons. And also to actually increase capex. So this year we have decided to increase capex for the next 5 years to almost 8,50,000 crores. That is necessary for survival of railway. Because otherwise, how are we going to get revenues? Sir, we have got only two streams of revenue. One is freight, 2/3, 1/3 is coming from passengers. That is not a sustainable model. But even to maintain these two, we need to have more lines so that more cargo can come to the railways. Today, we are running railway cargo lines without timetable. We started for the first time after announcing my budget, 3 trains which are now timetable trains. But still to do this, we need more investment. So all of this would need money. And if we pay dividend, it is actually taking away that rightful money that could have gone into some of these activities. So therefore, we should not be paying dividend is an argument. Of course, the Railway Convention Committee has recommended. I will go by the recommendation as well as the final sense of the House. But this is something. Sir, I want to just give some information because many of you have mentioned. Sir, all over the world, railways, don't have the figure of China, but all over the world, railways are highly subsidized, including one of the most market-oriented economies. Like Germany, the subsidy is $19 billion. In France, it is as much as $14.7 billion in all countries. But interestingly, we inherited the system during the imperial rule, between the British rule. United Kingdom gives a subsidy of $5 billion, which amounts to almost 0.8% of per kilometer, per kilometer, passenger kilometer of US dollars. And what are we asking for? We are asking for a subsidy which is 34,000 crore, which is actually there, which amounts to only about 0.004 US dollars, not even 1 cent. So you can imagine how much of the subsidy we are asking. It's a very minuscule amount. So we really need this. We have all the committees, including the standing committees. Everybody has recommended it should not be paid. So, sir, my request would be, if at all we agree that we have to go by the committee's recommendation, then at least I would request that we should postpone the liability of paying dividend by 4 or 5 years, so that at least to that extent we get a leeway. That amount can be returned in the railways, that can be used for capex, that can be used for something better. As far as the railway budget is concerned, I fully agree. In fact, I have written a letter personally, I don't know the outcome, to the Honorable Finance Minister, saying that we are willing for merger, but as it should be, and I in fact, I had suggested even the last year. So it's not that I want to just present a budget, I'm looking at it as a national interest. And the point that you made, sir, but the merger should happen in such a way that then railways should become part of the overall budget, so that the capex, the revenue deficit, all of this can be taken care of. So I think this is something which should happen, and this will be the long-term interest of the railways, long-term interest of the Indian economy, because I feel railway itself can contribute to at least 2.5% of the GDP. And that's the potential the railway has, but for that we need investment, we need strategic investments, we need investments in a manner that can really bring in very interesting. So the China subsidies is as high as $130 billion. $130 billion. That is what China gets. And sir, many of these countries, very interestingly, the railways had to incur debt when they were expanding. Most of the debt was taken over by the general budget eventually. This has happened also in case of Japan. So therefore, I think strongly that, of course, I will go by the House, and the recommendation of the RCC is already there. But as most of the standing committees, most of the parliamentary committees have said from time to time that railways should not be subject to the dividend, I hope the merger of the budget will happen in a way that all normally, like roads, like other healthcare and education, how those demands for grant come in, I think we should integrate in that manner. That will be a good thing.
Thank you. Now,
I shall expect the merger to take place this year.
I don't know yet, but
yes.
No, the resolution here is asking for this dividend to be paid. So my understanding is that the railway minister is not stopping putting that on pause. That is going through. That will go through now.
Yeah.
The second point. Today we are on the 15th of August. The railway budget is coming in 3-4 months. This is a big issue like a merger is not going to happen in the next 3-4 months. So one minute. The other point which he raised, I want a clarification, sir, because you mentioned something, so I want to take that up seriously. Even if this year has been passed, as we are saying, or deemed to be passed now, then this pause you were talking about, is that your view on that, sir? The pausing of the dividend for the next.
So that is I think we'll pass the resolution. Right. That is something which we'll request to the Honorable Finance Minister. I will request him separately. But I think that's something which should not be part of the resolution. That will be something which I'll take it up.
Sorry, workman or worker. इसके डेफिनेशन के लिए आप स्टैंडिंग कमेटी को भेजे राज्यसभा में. यही हमारे जो पहले के पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर थे रूडी साहब, और वो पेंडिंग है, अभी भी आप देख लीजिए आपके पास.